All
Hey,
right, all
Rashad.
right. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Rashad, and I got on a flannel. Just kidding. I got on a hoodie, and today I'm joined by Akeem. Akeem, what's good, man?
Everything is everything. Like I've been all over the place as you can possibly expect. Like I just got done doing state championship games up in North Carolina. I'm planning on going to the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame induction ceremony next month in Knoxville, Tennessee. So I've been all over the place. I'm just trying to put as many things on my schedule as possible, man.
No, man, 100%. Like that. That's you. Like you running like crazy, but hey, man, just stay in it. Keep your head up.
Mm,
Keep God first. I love you,
big
boy.
facts.
Shout out Drewski. Shout out Drewski. But yes, this is the road to 5K subs. If you are new to the channel, this is round two, part two. And I'm so glad. First things first, I want to shout out USC. I want to give USC a big round of applause because USC took care of business in the fourth quarter and pulled away from Kansas and got it to a blowout range to give us an early night. Yeah, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that, US. I appreciate that. Because last night, them
We
jokers had me up to
better.
12:30, and then I'm editing until about 1:30. I upload the video at 2. I wake up at 7 to go to work in the morning. I didn't know if I could do that back-to-back days. I'm not 22 anymore, Keem. I'm sorry. I'm not 22 anymore. Uh,
Yeah,
I
we're a little
need
bit
my
older. We
rest.
need a
I
little
need
bit
my
more
rest.
bedtime. That's the
Hey,
thing.
yeah, Father Time, man. It's me. Like Brian can't go on 5 hours of sleep anymore. Brian needs his full 8, and that's how does Brian do it? Year 25. Brian gets 8 hours.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like once you start getting older up in age, that stuff starts catching up to you. Hey, it's catching up to me too sometimes. So yeah, we need that rest in our little comfy old beds of ours.
100%. Like you said, you drive into South Carolina and North Carolina, excuse me, state championship. Say you live in Charlotte, you got to go down to Wake Forest, and you got to go to Florence, wherever they have the South Carolina state championships at nowadays. But
Yeah.
and then you're driving to Knoxville, so you're driving all over the South, and you're someone
Mm.
who loves to drive because I remember when we used to do A League, you used to be driving like 4 hours each time. So like like yeah, make sure you get your rest. Anyways, with that being said, without further ado, let's get into today's results. So like I already shouted out, USC took care of business. But even with that, there were no just, handed, oh, I didn't even know Utah was still playing right now and they're losing badly. Oh, well.
Mm.
Well, it looks like I didn't get the 12 o'clock ending that I thought I would. I thought I was gonna have a 12 o'clock ending. But with this being a double-digit game with 10 minutes left, barring your girl Peely getting 20 points in the next 10 minutes, it's looking like Gonzaga's gonna win with that one. So I got that one wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. But
Ditto.
yes. I just wanted to say like it doesn't seem there weren't too many blowouts in the second round. And I thought that was something good. Like even if you look at the scores, like the two games that I saw like just firsthand, Kansas USC and then the LSU game yesterday, in the second round. Let me see. Let me pull that one up. The LSU game yesterday against Middle Tennessee. Both of those were 20 plus point wins. Those were pretty close games. They were close games, and then it's just kind of like one team kind of dragged out and pulled away at the end. But yeah, Keem, I guess just overall thoughts on the second round, headed into the Sweet 16. What did you think of the second round?
I'm on the same wave as you, man. I was kind of a little bit pleasantly surprised that so far we haven't really seen that many blowouts. I mean, other than what happened with South Carolina and North Carolina. I mean, that was over at the opening tip. I mean, that was over at the opening tip, man. Like they just made mincemeat of the Tar Heels. But outside of that, like we haven't really seen that too many. We haven't really seen too many routes. I mean, even like you said earlier with LSU and Middle Tennessee, even that was a little bit competitive for the first half. I mean, Middle Tennessee, I mean, they came back to beat Louisville, to stun Louisville in the first round, and then they gave LSU a game, but before LSU went full LSU in that second half. But we've seen some competitive games. I mean, even the game earlier with Iowa and West Virginia, that was for the most part close. Oklahoma, Indiana, that was for the most part close. I mean, we've seen some really
UConn,
really
Syracuse.
yeah, UConn, Syracuse. That was a game. That was a game. And speaking as somebody who's a native New Yorker, I can only imagine that a lot of my folks back up north were definitely probably locked into that one. But yeah, that was a good game. So we've seen a lot of good games, I would say, so far. But I think the one that I'm really kind of patting myself on the back because I had this one, Duke over Ohio State.
Oh yeah,
Because I
yeah, yeah.
remember,
That
yeah,
that 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 was a hit to me. That was a hit to me for sure.
yeah, I had that one. And the reason why I picked Duke to beat Ohio State was because I actually had the chance, going back to some of how some of my travels have gone, but I actually had a chance to see Duke play Team USA prior to the start of the season. I was at Cameron Indoor, and they were playing Team USA in a scrimmage. And Reagan Richardson, Tiana Mayer, were really, really looking good. Like, they really look good in that one. So I could tell, just by that one, that Duke is a team that I felt lots of folks were sleeping on. So that's why I had them going to the Sweet 16. But yeah, lots of good games, lots of competitive games, and it sets us up really well as far as what the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight are going to look like.
And looking just forward, staying on the topic of Duke, they got Fournier coming in, obviously, the dunker and everything like that. On the boys' side, they have Flag coming in. I know the men are excited about that just because they haven't had a start since Zion uh, in the men's game. But like going back to it, Sarah Strong, it looks like it's going to be Duke or UConn. I guess just if Sarah goes Duke, what do you see that doing for that program?
Oh, I think it's going to definitely take that program to the next level because Sarah Strong is definitely a very, very dynamic player, especially when you look at what she does in the interior. I've had a chance to see her play with Grace Christian. I've had a chance to see her play on the AAU side. I mean, I remember it was a game that when Sarah Strong was here in Columbia and she was seeing South Carolina play, it was one of those situations where the Gamecock fans that were at Colonial Life Arena, they were chanting like, "We want Sarah Strong, we want Sarah Strong." Like, what more do you want? You already got Joyce Edwards. But Sarah Strong is definitely one of the standout talents when you look at the high school game. She's a McDonald's All-American, and she's been linked in the past, maybe to South Carolina, maybe to NC State. But you're right, she recently whittled down her decision down to UConn, Duke, and I believe North Carolina may also be on that list as well. So if Duke can get her, then that will really put them. Shout out to Coach Carol Lawson. That will definitely put Duke on the map more so than what they already are when you think about the women's college game.
No, 100%. And once again, shout out to Gino and CD and everybody over there up in stores, because even now with with what this entire season has been with the spotlight on Caitlin and Angel, and UConn is still like UConn, like right, like they still they might not be winning 100 games in a row, UConn, but but they're like UConn in terms of recruiting, like recruiting the best talent. Joel just hit me like during the game tonight, and he was kind of sharing a few opinions and stuff like that. And the fan base, they're really just excited about Ashlyn Shade, excuse me, the guard right there in the backcourt with Paige, because once AZ went out, she kind of held it down, and you saw what she did in the first round against Jackson State. But then another solid performance tonight, and you say that, and you're like, okay, all right, that's great. She stood up, but it's like all of these players in UConn, like they're quality recruits, like high 4 or 5 star recruits. And it's the same thing what you're seeing in South Carolina. While you're like, oh dang, South Carolina can go 10 deep, 11 deep, pause. You're like, it's because no Diddy. but 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 it's because of like who they're recruiting. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if you got Fagan as a 5-star, seventh best player in the country coming out of high school, and she's your backup to the backup at center. Like, that goes a very long way. And it's the same thing at UConn when you lose your entire starting five, except for Paige and Aaliyah and Nika, and you can still, come up with KK. You can still come up with Ashlyn. You can still come up with Ice. You can still come up with, and the name and the list goes on. Like that's the reason why you do it. And, so that's why I'm saying, like, landing a player like Sarah Strong is just adding to that. The rich get richer. Speaking of, it's like when LSU got old girl from Arkansas today,
Hmm.
Jersey. She was, her actual season statistics are only like 6 points and 5 rebounds. But like we've seen the girl play. Like we've seen the girl play in big
Hmm.
games and show up
Right.
big in big games. We know she can play. So the rich
Absolutely.
get richer, and
Hmm.
I think that's just another case of it. If Sarah chooses UConn, and that's a reason why UConn, if they have a Ashlyn Shea doing what she's doing when that AZ Flood goes out, they aren't. The season isn't over. Ashlyn Shea
Exactly.
she played 40 minutes tonight, had 19 points and 4 rebounds. Paige had 32 and 10 and 6. Goodness gracious.
Wow,
Goodness
that's
gracious.
Paige being Paige, and especially they love the fact that Paige is coming back for another season because I believe she's using her COVID year because she could have very well easily not only could she have very well easily decided to go into the draft, but she could have very well easily, more than likely, she was going to be a lottery pick. I mean, before
Yeah.
Paige Beckers decided that she was going to come back, I saw, and you probably saw this too, man. We both saw draft boards that had her as probably the second overall pick, right behind Caitlin Clark. But she's coming back to UConn, and more than likely now she's going to be in the 2025 draft. But yeah, UConn is definitely happy at the very least that Paige Beckers is coming back for one last chance. At a national championship.
Yeah, Paige is definitely coming back for AZ, peanut butter and
Right.
jelly, to give them, like you said, one last chance to win it together. They can win one this year,
Right.
get one this year and then get two. And, for Paige legacy, the way that a lot of UConn fans look at it, thanks to, speaking to guys like Joel and Tommy and stuff like that on a consistent basis. Shout out to all the UConn fans and all these UConn subscribers watching. They look at legacy of, the DTs and the birds and
Julius.
exactly. You can go down the list. You guys know the list. They judge it off of natties, right? So it's like,
Right.
you can have all the statistics in the world and be the Katie Lou's and everybody, right? But it's
Maya
like
Moore.
Maya Moore's, Stewie's, of course. That's what I was trying to think of. I'm sorry. McKenna. Yes, yes. You can be all of those players and stuff like that. But if you don't have the natties next to your name, the fans kind of looking at you like, like she was a great player, but kind of came up empty-handed. When you're talking about a program with 11 all time. So Paige knows that, and that's one of the reasons why she even announced before the tournament, before everything else, that she's coming back for another year to give herself a chance to win two and one with AZ. So we shall see. But it's funny because we said that we were surprised that there haven't been any blowouts and games have been relatively close. But it shouldn't be a surprise at all because like everybody's been beating up on each other this year, except for South Carolina. And South Carolina, even they got in a couple dogfights so with Tennessee, and they got a dog, and they got into that dogfight with LSU in the
LSU.
regular season on the
Mm.
road. So you know what I mean. So even South Carolina has shown moments and spurts of vulnerability this season. And yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. So NC State messed up my bracket as well. And Keem, I guess just NC State. I want to talk to you about that NC State game. Where do you see NC State kind of headed now? Sweet 16 moving forward.
NC State, I think, is a sleeper team. I mean, they're definitely one of those intriguing teams that I look at in terms of just the overall. scope of the tournament. I mean, I'm with you as far as like what happened with my bracket, because I actually had Tennessee going all the way to the Final Four. I had a Tennessee South Carolina rematch in the Final Four, but NC State was like, nah, we ain't playing that. But yeah, I feel like that was I feel like that was a big win for NC State against a tough opponent. Like, Tennessee, of course, they have Rakia Jackson, they have Jewel Spear. So and Rakia probably is going to be a lottery pick. A lot of folks have her going to the Chicago Sky with that number 3 pick that they got in that trade with the Phoenix Mercury. But yeah, I think that's a huge win to get over Tennessee, because I believe the previous game that Tennessee played, they did blow out. They did have a blowout victory in the first round. So I'm intrigued exactly, like, just how far NC State can go, because NC State, they've always had a really talented program in itself. So they're a team, like I said, they're a team I didn't necessarily have going all that far, because I had the matchup, but I didn't have the victor. So I'm interested to see what NC State does in the remainder of this tournament.
Yeah, NC State is just one of those teams, man. They're one of those teams with a lot of talent, a lot of experience, but for the past couple of years in this current era with this current group, they just haven't seemed to be able to get over the hump. Shout out the West
Mm,
over there and everything like that. They just haven't been able to
mm,
probably do it.
exactly.
So I ain't even gonna lie to you. That's why I picked against them. That and then Rakia looked unstoppable in that SEC tournament. So I was like,
Yeah,
man, in moments like these in the tournament, like one player can carry a team. Rakia tried her darndest. 33
yeah,
points and 10 rebounds in 38 minutes.
and
She
no
was the only person
turnovers.
and no turnovers. She was the only person scoring for them in the first half. I believe she had like 14, 16 points in the first quarter alone. So
Right.
ridiculous, ridiculous.
Then they stopped her in that second quarter, and but the good thing about it is, if you're Tennessee, is at the very least they were able to come back and still make it a game. And we've seen Tennessee do this before, because Tennessee did this against South Carolina in that SEC tournament, in that SEC tournament game. So Tennessee is a team. They've shown that they've been a team that can really come back in second half. By the way, speaking of NC State, they got somebody coming in as well who's pretty good. Her name is Zamariah Jones. She's a
Zam
prospect out of,
Jones, my dog.
yeah,
Goggles in the building. Goggles is entering the
exactly,
chat. 360
right.
layup has entered the chat. What are we talking
Shout out
about?
North
Shout out
Pitt.
Zam Jones, friend of the channel, man. I'm a big fan of Zam. I told Zam that. She said thank you. I said, no problem. But
Absolutely,
uh, but
absolutely.
uh, but I wanted to comment on that, King, what you were saying with Tennessee coming back. I think that's one of the things, shout out my homie Chris Williamson. We was talking about it. Um, that's one of the things that like Tennessee fans and like a lot of just college basketball fans are looking at. Oh, girl on the bench, like what we
Mm,
doing? What we doing? Why your team
right.
got to come back every single game? Every big game I watched from Tennessee this season, regular season, postseason, SEC tournament, and now here, they had to be down about 20 points and then come back every single time and
Mm,
play and then pray, and everything got to go perfectly. You saw
mm.
with 40 seconds left, they got a steal and a layup, and the refs called it back for something. And it's just on the sideline, just begging for, please, please. They got to beg for
Where
everything
the
to go
foul
perfect
at?
exactly, because you wasn't getting it right from the jump. So they're looking
Mm,
at Kelly. Shout out Coach Harper. They're looking at
mm-hmm,
Kelly like, what we doing?
mm,
So King, now that Tennessee season is over, now that T Key is out of that door, now that Rakia Jackson is out of that door, is that it for Kelly Harper? Was that her final game at Tennessee?
ooh, that's an intriguing question, man. Like, I think it's a coin flip. I think that, because you know how passionate Tennessee fans are, because of the legacy built with, Pat Summitt and Shamika Holtzclaw and Candace Parker, of course. So they have a lineage up there in Tennessee, obviously, when it comes to women's college basketball. So is Kelly Harper out? That's a good question. I remember there were a lot of folks, there are a lot of folks on Twitter, X, whatever the Sam still they're calling that mess nowadays, whatever you're calling it, Elon. Like, there were lots of Tennessee folks that were saying after the South Carolina game, because they were getting all over Kelly Harper, because when they did that inbound into Camila Cardoso, there was nobody on Camila Cardoso when she shot that three. So lots of folks were saying, oh, that was a sign that maybe Kelly Harper needs to be out. And now getting bounced in the second round of March Madness is one of those situations where you got lots of folks out here that are saying the exact same thing. And my take on coach firings has always been, okay, it's very easy to go ahead and let go of a coach, but it's not so easy to go ahead and hire a new coach. So if it's a situation where, and I imagine that's going to be a well sought after job because it's Tennessee women's basketball, it's the Tennessee Lady Vols. So there's lots of folks out here that probably would want that job. You can say fire Kelly Harper all you want. Who are you going to bring in to replace her?
100%, 100%. And Keem, while I have you here, I want to ask you about A&M because me personally, I only saw a couple games from them this season. I don't know if you watched a little more knowing, but what happened with A&M this season? With Janiah Barker's second season, why weren't they better than what they were?
That's a good question. That's a good question because I had the chance. I had the chance to see Janiah Barker play. I believe when she was at Montverde Academy down in Florida, and I believe it was a situation where wasn't correct me if I'm wrong on this, but wasn't Janiah Barker originally a Georgia recruit? Wasn't she
She
originally
she
going to go to
was
Georgia
with Joni, and then
with
she
Joni?
moved over to A&M with Joni.
Right, exactly. So UGA took a massive L with that one. But yeah, it's interesting because I thought that Texas A&M was going to be better, and I thought that Janiah Barker, as good as she is, was going to insert herself more firmly in that conversation. When you talk about all the youngsters that we've seen in the women's college basketball space so far this season. So so I'm kind of perplexed. I didn't really get a chance either to really see a lot of A&M either, but from the little bit of A&M that I had the chance actually to see, I was looking at, okay, what's Janiah Barker going to do? So it is a little bit of a shock.
Janiah had 11-5 in their final game of the season. I'm not sure
Mm.
if she was hurt. I'm not sure like what's going on. So if we got any Aggie fans and y'all can give me some more context on what's going on what went on with Janiah Barker this season, please let me know. And then you're talking about UGA taking an L. I forgot that Sarah Ashley Barker was transferred to Alabama last year. I forgot all about that until I was watching the
Really?
game last. Yeah, I forgot all about that until I was watching
Mm.
the game yesterday. Alabama and Texas. I was like, bro, I literally forgot that she transferred because she was UGA's best player with when Joni was over there as well, and she
Mm.
was a freshman. I remember watching her when she was in high school in Birmingham at I think it's Spain Park or one of those schools over there in Birmingham. But she was
Mm.
at in high school too, and she was at as a freshman at UGA. Very tough. I reacted to her a couple of years ago. You can see that on the channel. If you're new to the channel, this is the Real 5K subs. Anyways, let me get
Mm.
to the bracket as we close out tonight, shall we, King? So
Shall we? Let's do so.
I'm now at 32.5%. I rank in 2,466,337. Yeah, 337. I have
Mm.
440 points out of 16. This is terrible. I'm
Mm.
getting beat up, y'all.
Uh,
All right. So okay, I got this pick right, even though I got the teams wrong. Oh, I had KSU winning. Obviously, that didn't happen. Okay, but I got Iowa winning. Uh, Let me see. Oklahoma, Indiana. Who did I? Oh yeah, I picked Oklahoma. You know who
mm.
let me gas me up? Tyler. Shout out to Tyler from the No Cap Space crew. Um,
Mm.
he's been kind of gassing them up all season. So I was
Oh
like,
yeah,
oh man,
absolutely.
Oklahoma's got it. Shout out
That's
Tyler,
his
man.
school.
Yeah, that's his school.
That's his school,
It's
man.
gonna get you every time, huh?
Right.
All right. So Oregon State, I got that wrong because I picked I picked A&M to go to the Sweet 16. Uh, and then we got Ole Miss. Okay, I picked that one right. Ole Miss over Notre Dame. Uh, UCLA. UCLA struggled with Creighton. I haven't
Mm,
trusted them all season. I don't trust them against LSU. That's why I picked LSU. Even though LSU's been playing with their food all season long,
yeah,
UCLA just doesn't look like what they should have been this season, in my opinion.
exactly. Exactly.
We got I got Texas here. Gonzaga is about to beat Utah. I picked Utah, so I got that wrong. uh, USC Baylor. Oh, I got this one right. Yay! Finally, something right.
Nice.
Uh, Tennessee. I got this one wrong. Yeah, I had Tennessee going. I had Tennessee going to the Final Four too.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
I had Tennessee going to the Final Four too.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's gonna hurt.
yeah, going on a run, one more run
Yeah.
before he gets drafted.
Yeah, so I got this like entire bracket wrong. So it looks like the bracket is now open for Texas to get it done, man. Maddie
Mm.
Booker.
Oh
And
yeah, another
over
one of the
here,
fresh.
yeah, I don't see USC beating UConn, man. Even though UConn like is looking a little shaky and they look
Mm,
shaky all season with half a team and hobbling. It's just very difficult for me
mm.
uh to see USC beat UConn.
You got
But yeah.
you got UConn and you got UConn in the Final Four.
I got UConn in the championship game.
Oh, you got UConn in the championship against South Carolina.
Yeah, I got
Oh
UConn
wow.
beating LSU, and I got South Carolina beating Tennessee, and then South
Mm.
Carolina beating UConn in the championship game.
Yeah, I had South Carolina, Tennessee, Iowa, and Southern Cal as my as my Final Four. And you know what's
Oh,
interesting? It's it's interesting because today, of course, Tennessee lost, and Iowa. I mean, there were
almost
some
lost, almost lost.
almost lost, and I think they were bailed out because of the refs.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I
there were
think
some ref
LSU
calls.
and Iowa both. The rest must really want to see a rematch of Angel and Caitlin. I tell you that because
Yeah.
they was rooting on both of them games.
Exactly, exactly. Like, and it's interesting because I was watching that game and I think it was I forgot who it was for West Virginia, but you know they went up and they went up for a layup and I thought it was going to be called an and one, but instead they called that a charge. So I mean, like that's when I can tell. Okay, and this is one of the reasons as to why I tell folks all the time, like I'm nowhere near qualified to be a coach. But that's why one of the things I would probably tell my players if I was the coach of West Virginia or any team playing Iowa at this point, look, we aren't gonna get them superstar calls. Iowa's gonna get those superstar calls. So that would be one of the things. Like, I'm the type of person I wouldn't just scout the team, I would scout the refs too, man.
Well, I feel like in those type of games, you got to play so much better that you can't put the game in the hands of the refs because you already know where the refs are going to lean.
Right.
Like you said, man, and like especially with Iowa, bro, because I seen someone they tried to post the video, the clip. I think it was last round where like a player like elbowed kind of Caitlin in the face as she was like trying to
Mhm.
get through a screen. And I'm just like, bro, Caitlyn does so much on the court every single night, dog. And
Yeah.
Hannah, shout out Hannah, my dog. I
Doggy.
like Hannah. I
Stolke
like
is
Hannah.
a baller, man.
About 3 possessions in a row at the end of that game. She gonna go down with the girl, and they both
Yeah.
tumbling over each other, and they ain't call a thing until the last time, and then they called it against West Virginia. I said, of course,
Stolke had 45 points in a game earlier this season. And
yeah, yeah.
isn't she a sophomore or a junior?
Yeah. She's a sophomore. I think she might have had. I think that was 47 actually. Yeah,
47.
I think that was 47. I
Mm,
bring that up all the time, and yeah, it was
yeah.
47. Yeah, 47. So yeah, like I rock with Hannah, but gosh, Lee, like the whole team, bro. Like Iowa,
Mm,
but LSU too. LSU too,
yeah.
man.
LSU
But
though is stacked. I mean, you got to deal with Angel, you got to deal with Big Foe, you got to deal with Anissa, you got to deal with Michaela Williams, another one of these star freshmen. Like you got Haley Van Lith. Like there's a lot of LSU you got to contain in order to beat them.
I still do not trust them. But
Mm,
but that's in the long run. And but I mean, none of these teams look solid. I'm not even gonna lie to you. The only team that looks solid is South Carolina. That's
mm,
literally the only team that looks solid. Everybody else looks a little shaky. UCLA looks
yeah.
shaky. UConn looks shaky. Uh, who else looks shaky? Let me see
Mm. You said
who else we have.
UCLA a little bit earlier.
Yeah, UCLA. Stanford. Yeah, Stanford looks a little shaky.
Mm-hmm.
It got scary there. Cameron Brink can't stay out of foul trouble. You know, they had the shout out to Kiki.
Mm-hmm.
Kiki, do you put the team on her back? She put the team
Yeah.
on her back, but it was
Right.
looking a little shaky. It was looking like I said last year again with Ole Miss.
Mm.
Texas, Texas didn't look as shaky, but I mean, you're dependent on a freshman to get it done for you. And shout
Right.
out to Aaliyah Moore stepping up down low and everything like that. But for the most part, Maddie's kind of in Maddie's hands because Rory Harmon's out. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and then Notre
Right.
Dame, once that's another team. Shout out to Sonia and shout out to Westfield holding it down for them today as well, along with Hannah.
Mm.
But at the end of the day, the ball's in Hannah's hands and it's down to a freshman. Uh,
Right.
South Carolina, like I said, they look solid. Iowa looked a little shaky today. And then
Yeah.
Colorado, I don't know if Colorado is going to beat Iowa, LSU, then UConn, then South. Like that's not going to happen. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah.
Baylor looked a little shaky. They had to play to the final second. Virginia Tech didn't even have their star player.
Exactly. Liz Kelly's out with an injury, with an ACL.
Baylor's looking a little shaky. Blackwell had 1 point. I mentioned that. So nobody looks solid, is what I'm saying. So it should
Yeah.
be a fun, just like how the second round was fun. It should be a fun last couple of rounds, last 3 rounds here. Well,
Mm.
did I do that right? Sweet 16, Elite Eight, Final Four, Championship. Okay. It should be a fun last 4 rounds here.
Yeah. And that's the
Buckle up.
thing, man. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
go
thing. I
ahead.
mean,
Go ahead, King.
it's one of those situations where you was mentioning South Carolina earlier. There's two things that make them so hard to beat. Number one, we was talking about second half teams a little bit earlier. South Carolina is the best second half team in the country. And then not only that, but they are so deep. Like they can beat you all kind of ways with their starting five or with their bench. I mean, they are stacked. Raven Johnson, Chloe Kitts, Ashlyn Watkins, Tahina Powpow, Breezy Hall, Malaysia Fulwiley. I mean, like they are so Tessa Johnson. I mean, they are so deep and they are so hard to beat. Like you can't rest with South Carolina. You may be thinking, okay, you got some of them, and maybe you get a couple of them in foul trouble. They can score off of their bench. They can beat you with just their bench. So that's why, and so many folks were talking, coming into the season, like, oh, how is South Carolina do after losing five of their players to the WNBA? They responded absolutely. So I mean, yeah, at this point, I'm with you, man. I had South Carolina as my national champion. Right now, it's looking like their national championship to lose.
Man, I mean, and it's looked like that all season because everybody else was beating up on each other. So
Right,
it's looking like, undefeated season. And I think you have to put this one up there for Don Staley, bro, because
right.
there were no, like I said yesterday, and then we're going to get out of here because I'm saying the same points that I said yesterday now. But no star players. No star player this season. At some points of the season, it looked like Pow was the best player on the team. At some points of the season, it looked like Cardoso was the best player on the team. At some point
Mm,
this season, it looked like Raven Johnson was the best player on this team. At some points of the season, it looked like Chloe Kitts was the most solid player on this team. At some points of the season, it looked like Full Wally right now is looking like the best player on the team.
right.
You know what I mean? So
Ashlyn.
Ashland, yeah, my bad. Shout
Hmm.
out Cheese. And sometimes it's like Ashlyn Watkins has been the best player on the team. So, you got 6 players that have been rotating as the face of South Carolina Gamecocks this season. And we're not even talking about Breezy Hall. You know what I mean? So that's 7. So it's like to do what Don Staley did this season, granted, these are all 5 stars. It's
True.
still something. It's still something. And you have to tip your hat off to her if she gets it done. We don't want to prematurely crown and everything like that. But what she did, even in a regular season leading up to now, you have to salute it. And I think this is, prematurely don't want to say too much and don't want to jinx it for the South Carolina fans watching. So I'll just leave it there. But it's a very impressive what she's doing right now, coaching job this season.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, like I said, there was so much intrigue as far as like what they look like. And it looks like it could be a situation where they could very well be playing their best basketball at exactly when they need to be playing their best basketball. I mean, so definitely shout out to South Carolina. And like you said, everybody else, like we always ask this team or the field. This team or the field. Right now, it's looking like South Carolina or the field. It's looking like South Carolina right now. We got to see, like you said, we got to see what happens in these final 4 rounds, these last 4 rounds. But yeah, it's amazing to me just what Dawn Staley has been able to do, with this team.
Yes, 100%. And I guess to wrap up, I guess Ioka Lee, she has to leave, right? Like she has to leave. This was her COVID year that she used.
I believe so. I believe so, if I remember correctly.
She's like 23, so if she has another year of eligibility, I think she should just go, bro. You're 23. Uh, but
Yeah.
but yes. So being that, and then like who else is like a lot of people are coming back and staying. We don't know what Angel quite yet is gonna do. It looks like she's kind of leaning W, and it kind of
Mhm.
looks like all season we kind of anticipated she was going W, but the fact that she still hasn't like gave a solid answer, we just kind
Mhm.
of still there's a chance she might come back, but I think she's gonna go to the W. With that
So
being
do
said,
I.
with everybody who is leaving, everybody who's staying, where do you see Ioka Lee going? Like
Mm.
numbers wise, not team, but numbers wise.
Exactly, exactly. I think that'll be one of the, for sure one of the intriguing questions as well, as far as like, what Ioka Lee decides to do. And, you was also mentioning Angel Reese. I remember, and you remember as well, at the beginning of the year, there were a lot of draft boards that had her as a lottery pick. Now I'm starting to see some draft boards that are saying maybe she'll go perhaps mid first round. Like it's interesting because mid first round, I'm guessing that's like the last mock I saw her had her going, I think, to the Washington Mystics, who I believe have if I remember correctly, they have the 6th overall pick. So that would be an interesting selection. I still think that maybe there's a chance she could go maybe in that top 4 as a lottery pick if Cardoso doesn't, if Cardoso isn't selected in that first 4. But yeah, I'm really interested. And by the way, shout out as well to Lorela Cuba, the former Georgia Tech standout who got a training camp contract today with the Atlanta Dream.
Shout out to Lorella, getting it done pretty much for I'm sorry, I blanked out. It's getting late, y'all. For the Dream, she signed to the Dream last year. She was kind of like the on and off player for them. She was who the player who went to UGA was for the Dream a couple years ago before she signed with the Fever. Maya Caldwell, kind of
Hmm.
like what Maya Caldwell was for the Dream, where she kind of stayed around with the Dream. She was on the
Yeah.
training camp roster, had to get cut, then signed a 10-day when somebody got hurt, then
Mm.
had to leave again. Then, she was always on call. And that's what it
Right.
looks like Kubaj is for the Dream right now. But like you said, Angel going to LA, that seems like they'll pull a trigger for something like that, especially with Paige being coming back now, because it looked
Mm.
like Paige was going to be their, ticket, their box office star, whatever that they were going to market Ricky, and
Right.
she says she's coming back. So you get Cameron Brink going there now, and then now you can get an Angel Reese too in that front court. And
Mm,
Angel in LA is just, you know, showtime. You know, it's the same thing we were talking about with Angel when she was mocked when Michael M.A. Vopel had her going falling all the way to 8 to Atlanta when
mm.
Atlanta had the number 8 pick before they traded it to LA for Jordan Sparks. For Jordan, Canada. Oh Lord, I'm saying Jordan Sparks. It's
Oh
too
wow.
late, y'all. It is too late. But
It is what it is, though.
it is what it is. And then Kalina, shout out Kalina as well. Uh Mosqueda Lewis from UConn as well. It's getting late. But
Right.
I say all that to say that was another thing I was saying. On Breakfast Club last year, Angel said, I want to go to a city that has something for my career outside of basketball modeling. So a city like in New York, a city like Atlanta, a city like LA. And I said Atlanta would have acted a fool if Angel Reese ended up going to the Dream. And
He would have
I
balled out
think
though. He'll ball out wherever she goes.
yeah, we'll see. Yeah, because I mean, she's had the distractions already, so it's not like you can't say you don't have a sample size of what it looks like with distractions. I don't think she can get more famous and have more distractions than she's had this season at LSU, and she's handled it pretty well. I get tough on Angel on here. I ain't even gonna lie to you, but she's handled it well all in all. You know, of course, she still has room for improvement, room for growth, but who doesn't? Especially at the age of 22 with millions of dollars in your pocket. It's just, what would you
Right.
do in that situation when you were 22? I don't know, because I didn't have millions in my pocket back then. So,
Nor
you know what
would
I
I,
mean?
nor did I.
So,
But yeah, it's
so
an intriguing
yeah.
question.
So, but salute to everybody, man. Y'all enjoy these final 4 rounds. We got some more special guests coming up here. King, we appreciate you stopping by. It's been a year since you've been on the channel, so thanks for
Mm.
stopping by again, showing some love to me as always. And on the fly too, I hit up King at like midnight and said, "Hey, can you hop on?" And he said, "Yeah, let's do it." So I
Mm.
appreciate you, brother. My big brother Keem, my predecessor at my college paper as a sports editor, one of my mentors and people who helped lead me to the path that I'm currently on. And I
Mm.
always appreciate you. I always got to give him his flowers while he's here. So thank you, Keem.
As always, absolutely. And I'm a night owl. So, I'm a night owl. So sometimes it's easier to get in contact with me sometimes at 12 midnight than it is at 12 noon. So I'm a night owl. I'm a nocturnal, as they say.
well, I hope you get some sleep at some point, because
You
because
too, man.
oh
Absolutely.
man, oh no, I'm definitely getting some sleep because I don't think we have any games tomorrow night, so I'm definitely getting some sleep.
Oh,
Believe
yeah,
that.
absolutely.
I'm
You
gonna get
deserve some
mine. I'm gonna
rest.
get mine. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But if you're new
Right.
to the channel, this is the road to 5K subs. Please excuse my couple little mistakes like saying Jordan Canada and calling Kalina Mosqueda Lewis McKenna. Uh, but until next time, y'all, please enjoy yourselves. Shout out to everybody watching. I appreciate y'all. Until next time, peace.
What he said.